Good day around the world, everybody, and welcome to an update from Oregon. I was going to do this as part of the beginning of the Bernie Sanders rally that's happening at 1 p.m. today, Pacific, and he's in West Virginia. But scheduling issues, they pushed Bernie back, and this is right now when Charles Maughan and Larry Taylor have time while they're at the Oregon State Central Committee Q2 meeting, which is happening in Burns, Oregon. Those are two things there that I had no idea what they are. Burns, Oregon, never even heard of it, so learn about that place. And Oregon State Central Committee, something that Justin Bryce asked me to run for some position. I said, you should run for that. And I said, I should really know what the hell it is first before I do that. We're learning about government, right? Or I'm learning about government. I'm 47. I don't know what some of this stuff is. And Bernie Sanders woke me up to the fact that if I'm going to have a democracy that works for me, I have to actually participate in that democracy. And there's a lot of people that have been doing that already. These are two of the guys, and we're going to meet them. By the way, Laura Livengood's hanging out here with us. Hey, Laura, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you. And hi, everybody in the crowd. I could see you. How you doing, Stock and Melissa and Ashley Terry Yos, and Jonathan, how are you? Jim Lockett, Darcy. Thank you, Darcy, for those great clips. I'm going to use those later today for the rally. That's going to be badass. Appreciate it. And I just want everybody to know that right now I'm the only person in this entire conversation that does not have air conditioning in the room that I'm in. So when I bring Charles and Larry on and you watch me sweat and they don't, just understand we're not in the same room together, okay? And I'm not sweating because I'm nervous. It's hot in here. It really is. So without further ado, hello, Larry Taylor and Charles Maughan. How are you today?
We're doing well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. You're in an air-conditioned room, right?
Yes. Yes, we are in the judge's chamber of the Harney County Courthouse.
Very nice. Very nice. And Harney County is you're way down in Burns, Oregon, right?
Yes, and you are actually familiar with Burns because this was the site of all the drama of the occupation last year.
Oh, really? Really? I was not aware. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So, and you're down there, Larry, you're a state central committee member, right? This is your job. What is your actual title there?
Yeah, I'm a delegate representing Clatsop County to the Democratic Party State Central Committee. And the State Central Committee is the governing body of the Democratic Party of Oregon.
Awesome. And you're also the chair of the Progressive Caucus, which is what I have in your lower third. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. It's really an organization intended to formalize the relationship that we had and created last year of the progressive movement. So by officially becoming a PAC, we can raise money, and it gives us more agility to go out and do the things that we want to do.
All right. Well, you said a word that a lot of people associate with evilness these days, PAC. But I want to clarify the difference between a super PAC and a PAC really quickly. Correct? There's a big difference, right?
Yeah. So a PAC is an entity like a corporation. You have to have some organizational structure to how your money's flowing. You can't just do dark money unless you want to. And so in the state of Oregon, in order to do the kinds of work we want to do, we run our funds through a PAC. Oregon has a very transparent reporting system. So even though we don't have campaign limits, every contribution we receive over $100 and every expenditure we make is reported. So people can look at us and see who's supporting us and what we're doing with our money. Okay,
so your political action committee, the difference is you're not hiding your money like a super PAC would do, right? Excellent. And
Correct.
Charles, before we go on and talk about what you guys are doing actually down there, Charles Maughan, everybody, you know Charles, he's helped us out a number of times. We've had him on camera before. He's really active in our Friends of Our Revolution, Corvallis, Oregon, and the Democratic Party in general. Charles, you're a delegate, correct? You're a delegate for the 4th
I'm
district? Go ahead. Please
correct.
Tell us.
Even though that alone doesn't really require me being here, but I'm also on a couple of committees that's why I have to attend the committee meetings. And also I'm hoping they're gonna do the reorganization today. They're supposed to. I plan on running for chair of the Gun Owners Caucus, which is
nice.
Today.
Awesome. All right. So thank you guys both for being there. Tell us about what's going on at this event. Larry, you want to start, or just tell us what's going on there? Why are you there today?
This is midday during the activity and during the activities. This morning we had the standing committee meetings, and we had high drama in the rules committee. This is the rules committee. The rules committee is responsible for the bylaws and really the functioning of the party, and it's where a lot of decisions get made that either empower the people or try to withhold the power of the people. And so it's our intention to get in there and reverse decisions that have been made previously that have reduced the power of the people and has moved it into the leadership, which has resulted in some decisions that which Bernie Sanders referred to. The things that go on at the Democratic National Committee also unfortunately goes on at the state party level.
Yeah, and I mean, is it worse? Is it the same? Is it how much work do we have there to clean it? I guess is my question.
It's not as bad as at the DNC.
Okay.
One example of what happened was last August 21st, they had a bylaws change that was advertised as a housekeeping measure. I actually was not able to attend that meeting. And afterwards, we realized what they had done is that they had moved the beginning of the term of office of all the new activists that we had elected to the party, and were prevented from voting on the Democratic National Committee members from Oregon for the next 4 years.
Dang.
It also screwed up the elections of the standing committee members because we did not want the legacy delegates voting for the people who would be serving for the next 2 years on the standing committees. So we had to elect officers in one meeting, and then the standing committee members in a second meeting after they were able to take office. So one of the things that we will be attempting to do is clean up when the term of office begins, so that when people are elected to office, they can actually do things like vote and make decisions like they're supposed to in a timely manner.
Nice. You make things a little more efficient, make things function a little better. And so I was looking at the agenda here, and there's an awful lot of things going on that already happened this morning. The Black Caucus, CD2, Disability Justice Caucus work groups. What are all these things that are happening during the day? What's going on in these meetings? What's being decided here?
It's a very complicated organization. So the most interesting thing that happened in the first sessions was the election of the members of the standing committee from the 2nd Congressional District. The 2nd Congressional District is the entire eastern 2/3 of the state of Oregon.
Oh, wow.
And in particular, we were hoping to get progressive members elected onto the Rules Committee, which met immediately after that. And we really appreciated their vote because we got into the Rules Committee meeting. We ended up being delayed to adjourn the meeting by over 10 minutes. We had to do introductions. We got bogged down into the minutia of a couple of bylaws changes, and 5 minutes left. So we still have not considered the 3 bylaws changes that we want to have voted on later this year. And so I raised a point of order and I asked, was it the intention of the chair to announce these bylaws changes to the State Central Committee this afternoon? Because that's one of the requirements for being able to vote upon them in our next meeting in August. She was not intending to, and so I made a motion that happen. We ran over time, but fortunately, because we had the votes in the room, we were able to get that announced. Now we're going to go through a discussion of what those changes to the bylaws will really be comprised of, and then the State Central Committee will vote on them come next August. So there are 3 very interesting ones. The first one was the structure of the standing committees. Currently, the chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon appoints the chair and the vice chairs of the standing committees. We just found out who those people were, and it turned out that they were all establishment people, no progressive people.
Surprise.
And it was an attempt to control us. But what I've been trying to do with everyone is get for everyone to understand that the supreme power lies with the people, and how we assert that that power through Robert's Rules of Order. And so even though it was a very civil meeting that we went through, it was also very dramatic.
That's that, and well, and it sounds. Here's the thing. I was reading up on you, just so you know. So I went to Ballotpedia here, and I was looking at it. You know what you're talking about when it comes to Robert's Rules and how the process of the party, right? What you guys have to do to make decisions, the bylaws, how these. That's your kind of your thing, right?
I've been studying it for 20 years, and I swear to God, it took me 20 years to understand the whole thing because it's very, very complicated.
You finally graduated.
And last year, what I was, yeah. So I spent a lot of time last year with the Bernie Sanders delegates, explaining to them what to expect at the platform convention, what to expect at the Democratic National Convention, where our opportunities are to really assert a control. One of the things that we wanted to do was have our person be chair of the Oregon delegation because, as we all know, in Oregon, Bernie Sanders won the vote by 56%. And so the majority of delegates would be Bernie Sanders delegates. And so we should be able to pick our delegation chair. The establishment thought that we would just do what we always did. But we came out with a good compromise. And so we ended up with Jeff Merkley, who was one of only 3 superdelegates in Oregon that pledged for Bernie Sanders out of 12. And then Lupita Maurer and I were the other 2 superdelegates. We were able to get him on as co-chair along with Ron Wyden, who had been historically the chair of the delegation. So that was really cool for all of us to be in Philadelphia with our senators to the Congress.
And from what I understand and what you said before we went live, you said can we make note of the fact that there's basically no progressive representation? I mean, this is actually the Democratic Party being represented here, what I would consider it to be, right? And this is what you're trying to bring to the table, is some real representation that's not establishment bullshit, right? I mean,
well, we actually made great progress in this last year. So we started over a year ago trying to get people registered to run for precinct committee people, which is sort of the entry point for electing county leadership.
Yeah.
And then they also elect the delegates of the state central committee, which then elect the leadership of the Democratic Party of Oregon. We captured 3 of the 4 officer positions. So we have the first, second vice chair and the secretary from the progressive movement, which is spectacular. And we've also captured a number of the congressional district organizations and committees. So we have become a Democratic Party of Oregon.
Nice. That's I know, and you guys have done a lot of work. And my understanding, and one of the reasons why we're working together, is because you want to continue that and reach out to the eastern portion of Oregon, which is where you are now, and find PCPs, right? Build this grassroots ground effort, right?
Yes. For whatever reason, the Democratic Party has been kind of a priesthood, and it's operated on its own, but it really is answerable to every registered Democrat in the state. And so one of the objectives of the Progressive Caucus is to reach out, make sure everyone, all registered Democrats, understand what the process is for participating. And since the election of the president, we're being overwhelmed with people who want to get involved. And so we want to educate them and let them understand how to get involved and affect changes, so that when we get to this point in 2 years, we have a Democratic Party that actually represents the majority of Democrats in the state.
Right, and like what you're teaching here, what you're talking about is I have so much to learn to understand what the state central committee is, how it works in relation to the Democratic Party of Oregon, and how it relates to the counties and all these things. And we also have to understand the rules, what the bylaws are for, what they affect, what they change. This is all the details that most Americans have kind of fallen asleep at the wheel on, right? I have, and it's really, thank you for putting forth the effort to make this happen. A question from the audience, from Ashley Terry. And it's a great question, because we all kind of have our version of it. What is your litmus test or your separation between establishment and progressive Democrat?
it's really acknowledging that the supreme power belongs to the people versus the supreme power belongs to the leadership. And this has been kind of like the frog in the boiling water situation, where, once we went over this past year was when I realized how much of our rights have been taken away from us just by us and allowing decisions to be made for us and us agreeing to them. The bylaws changed on August 21st of last year, being, Exhibit A, where it was presented as a housekeeping device, and yet it had enormous implications on who represents Oregon to the Democratic National Committee.
Right, right.
So, what we believe in is that the supreme power belongs to the people, and we, like this afternoon, it should be majority vote, and it should be by a majority that is informed in making intelligent decisions.
Well, I don't think anybody would disagree with you there, and I think you would even find some established,
I think there are people that would disagree.
Really? I don't know. I think you would find everybody on the establishment saying, of course, they would agree with you in statement. I'm not sure their actions would meet those words. And I'm going to guess before we go to Laura Livengood, who has some questions for you guys. My primary thing would be money. I mean, you can talk about it's got to represent the people, but do you consider, if you're taking money from corporate interests and that money is guiding your decisions, and it's obvious, right? Where does money come into play for you?
So part of our pledge to become a member of the Progressive Caucus is to agree to contribution limits. But yes, it's very interesting. So my state representative told me that the committee chairs in the Oregon legislature are given to the legislators who contribute the most money to their PACs. And so if you go look at the contributions to the chairs and what they give, you can see that most of the money is coming from organizations and not much money is coming from individuals.
That sounds no different than what we hear about a politician getting elected, like a Senator Merkley, not that he's doing this, but a politician getting elected and have to spend 2/3 of their time in a cubicle dialing for dollars. It does.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's
And at the state level, we have are a lot of legislators who are not opposed in the primary, and because they might be in an especially blue district, have no opposition in the general election, and so they end up not having any urgency to have accountability or make campaign pledges to their electorate, and so they get down into Salem, and we find behaviors that are odd.
Right.
Most recently, it's been through the national popular vote discussions in Salem. It's been a Herculean effort to get that legislation through the House and then onto the Senate floor. But it's something to ask them, why don't you support something that is so obvious as this? And it's clear that they're not representing their people. This has been the one issue that they have received more notices on, both through emails and phone calls and lobbying in Salem, on any issue than they've ever received. And it's still a struggle to get a vote on this on the House or on the Senate floor.
I mean, and that's really what it comes down to right there is when you know that they have been, the people have spoken about this and they're ignoring the will of the people overwhelmingly. To me, that's really, that really is the crux of the issue. So we have to do a lot of replacing if we're going to get there to get people to actually do what we need them to do for us, right? That's what you're working on.
Yes.
We have some questions. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Laura Livengood, you have some questions from the audience? I want to hit these.
Well, you actually snapped my first one. Very good. That was the one from Ashley Terry. Chili is questioning about what you've heard, what you think about threats against Kimberly Ellis from the Democratic Party. What she was running for the DNC chair here in California. Is that type of tactic something that you are seeing a lot of? I know it's a little sensationalistic, but it is out there, and it's what we're talking about in chat. So, thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
So I was the candidate. I was the fourth of the four positions that was not elected. I was I ran for chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon. At the last moment, a candidate was fielded that had never attended a state central committee meeting except to speak at like an opening ceremony, has passing familiarity with Robert's Rules of Order, and there was this dark state of support that showed up that helped her run a campaign that that took away enough of my votes so that I wasn't successful. And part of that campaign was to do a character assassination job on me by an astonishing collection of people spreading lies and rumors about things that were completely untrue. So yeah, it happened.
No doubt.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if they're willing to collude and rig an entire election primary, then I don't see why they'd have a problem with a little state action, right? Mm-hmm. So it's sad, but that's what we have to fix. More questions, Laura?
That was the last one I've got, but I'm sure that there will be more. So check back with me, okay?
Okay. All right.
And I'm actually going to have to leave here very shortly to get to the Gun Owners Caucus because that's the main reason why I'm here today.
You want to talk about that, Charles? Tell us. Yeah, because this is always I'm always like, really, Gun Owners Caucus. But seriously, you're a Democrat. You're a member, right?
Yes, I'm a member of the Gun Owners Caucus.
Tell us about it.
And I didn't hear about it until the last SEC meeting. I was like, oh, there's a Gun Owners Caucus. Why haven't I heard about this? Because how often do you hear about people saying, oh, those darn liberals just want to take our guns? And I feel if the Gun Owners Caucus is doing their job, that wouldn't exist. You wouldn't be able to have that narrative at all. And I think we need to have a strong chair to lead that caucus and work on legislation to make, people have the right to own a firearm, but we need to be safe about it. So,
agreed.
That's my goal.
It's interesting that you say that. I mean, I personally don't own a gun, although with changes that have happened in our government and really a lot of realizations about law enforcement in our country, not picking on anybody in particular, I'm more interested in owning a gun for my own defense against law enforcement, federal law enforcement.
Right.
I mean, go ahead.
And I don't think there needs to be any kind of like confrontation between somebody who likes guns and somebody who doesn't. My wife, she hates guns.
There you go. Yeah, Holly. I couldn't imagine. You can't imagine.
And we get along just fine.
Well, so I love what you said about it though, because there's a lot of. I mean, obviously we have a problem in this country with guns, and that could be addressed by a strong gun caucus that actually was focused on some sensible laws around our guns that we see in most other developed countries around the world, right?
Right. I mean, it shouldn't be a complicated issue. I mean, yes, you can own a gun, but we don't want anybody to get hurt by that gun. It's very simple. The actual complication comes from trying to find a way to, work across the table and speak to somebody who's, oh, they're going to take my guns. I've got to hold on to them. And they feel they need to have more and more guns and have fully automatic guns. And it's like, there's got to be a compromise. We can meet in the middle somewhere and just make sure we're safe. Right.
Right. And that, I mean, understanding that is the goal, we would hope, life, health, happiness, the pursuit of happiness, kind of the original concepts here. What does the Gun Caucus do? What are you going to do? What decisions do you make? How do those affect the state committee? How does that affect the Democratic Party of Oregon down the road? What are you attempting to change or affect?
Well, with any caucus, I mean, what their job is to focus on a single issue and, and come up with things to submit to the state central committee to vote on and hopefully write legislation and they work with legislators to push it up the line to become law.
So Ed, I want to stop you right there. I mean, that's really, I was hoping you would just kind of give me that little pat. Right there, we're talking about you and Larry, and you're in this meeting right now, and I know you got to get going to your caucus meeting, but the whole point is to come up with resolutions that are presented then to representatives, right? And we say, look, this is us. We're a group representing a group of your, a portion of your constituents, and here's what we want you to do.
People.
Yeah. And so by organizing that information for him, right? Here's what we think. Here's what we want you to do. You're giving him or her, you're giving our representative something to take with them. Okay, you really feel this way? Okay, I got to look at this issue. These are the little tiny portions of democracy that people, I don't think we're aware happened, right? This is where it starts.
I'm still figuring it out.
Right. And when did you get involved,
Yeah,
Charles?
just like you, right, just like you, Bernie woke me up. If you would have talked to me a year and a half ago, I would have been like, politics? What about it? I don't know anything about it. I don't care. And now it's like, no, I have to care. We all have to care.
Right.
So
right.
I do need to leave, though. You can continue, talking with Larry. If Larry just hold on to my gear afterwards, and I'll catch up with you later.
I will.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much, Charles.
Bye, Charles.
Larry, you got a few more minutes to answer a couple other questions?
I do.
Awesome. Give me a minute here. Let me reframe you so I don't have you all the way.
The empty chair, sad chair.
Or I could move the chair.
Yeah, well, that's true. You could do that too.
Yeah,
there you go.
there you go.
All right. There we
How about
There
that?
you go.
That's awesome. Here, I'm still gonna mess around with your shot. I got. There we go. We had. Do we have any other questions, Laura?
Yeah, you know what? This is kind of a heavy one, but this is something you can help us because we have a lot of people that are in our chat who are, really want to go third party, and they are very leery of the DNC. And they pointed out, the DNC is seems to be eating its own, right? And so the question to you is, what would you say to people who are saying, who wants to join a group like the DNC, who are lying, cheating, stealing, murdering, rigging elections, ruining lives? Their platform is not representing us, but yet you are still working within that infrastructure. What can you say to people who have that question? What is the ray of hope that you would offer with what you're doing?
So the political parties are defined by their platforms, and Oregon has a very progressive platform. The Sanders people, when they saw it, was sort of astonished at how progressive it is. Everything is in there: single-payer health care, higher minimum wage, all the stuff that you would expect. What happens is that good and well-intentioned people come into the party, they see that kind of stuff happen, and they leave. And so if good people leave the party and all they do is, leave the party in the hands of people who are less ethical, then this is the situation that we've kind of found ourselves in. What Bernie Sanders has done is has reawakened everyone to the existence of the parties. A third party would be very interesting, but right now a viable third party doesn't exist. And so our attitude is, we are Democrats. This is our party. We're going to clean it up and make it the party that we want it to be. And we historically have always welcomed anyone who believes in the platform of the Democratic Party to get involved. And so I would encourage anyone out there whose values align with ours, come join us and help us on this work.
Agreed. I'm just going to
How
go
about
for
that answer?
That's fantastic. Thank you. From a position of practicality, we are, like you said, the people are what make the party. If we can't replace the corrupt ones, which we're working on, then how are you going to? My question is, how would you build a new one, knowing everything that you know about what it takes to have the Dem party function? Building a new one seems like that's going to take an awful lot of time and an awful lot of resources. That's No.
It would. What's amazing is to see what happened in France, where Emmanuel Macron just sort of creates a new one out of thin air. I mean, he did that within a year. Things are much more. We're one of the oldest democracy we've had, even though they've hated parties since the beginning of the country. They've existed, and they seem to have always existed in two forms. One being the conservative one, and one being the more progressive one. So it would take a lot of work to create a new one. If Bernie Sanders wants to create a new one, what we really need is for him to have an infrastructure like, people elected from that party in the state and legislatures and the federal government. And that's just a really heavy lift. And so an easier path for us should be to clean up an existing party and make it the party that we want it to be.
Thank you. That was beautiful. That's exactly what I've been saying for a while. And then Jeanette, one of our audience members, was just saying that. What if Bernie wanted to? The question being, what if he said, "All right, I'm done. We're going to make a new party," which I don't think he would. And would everybody? Do you think there would be a massive slide over into that and a big effort that would form around a non-establishment people in our state government to make this structure?
I don't know. We're at a very interesting inflection point in time.
Agreed. Very much so.
Fair enough.
Larry, what are you doing the rest of the day? I thank you for being with us. What else would you like to tell us? What are you doing the rest of this time? What happens next?
Well, this afternoon is the 400-pound gorilla meeting, so it's the State Central Committee meeting itself. Because we passed the motion in the Rules Committee that the chair will announce the 3 bylaws changes that we wanted, that starts the clock ticking on those changes, and we'll be able to vote on them in August.
Nice.
There's some other things going on that we're going to try to do, but typically they've packed 5 hours of meetings into 3 hours, so it's going to be a challenge getting everything done.
And yes, and they'll run over regardless, right? So.
And then we have to drive home.
Oh, geez. You mean they didn't fly all you guys out there in your personal jets? I mean, come on.
Yeah, to Harney International, no.
It looks like a rather small community there. Is that the case, John? We were like that Burns is a very small population.
In the county, there's 7,000 people.
Wow. And we got to reach those
And
people.
there's 941 Democrats.
941 registered Democrats, right? There could be more. All right. Thank you for telling us about this, Larry Taylor. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to working with you more on progressive values.
My pleasure.
All right, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Larry. That was Larry Taylor and Charles Maughan. They're down in Burns, Oregon right now doing democracy. This is how it goes. They're not getting paid for that. Drive down, put themselves up, not get a lot of sleep, and meet to discuss about the issues that we want change. You want change happening at the state level. We at the county level and the city level, the local level, have to say, we want this change. And then we have to deliver those changes to the people that are supposed to make those changes. That's how it works. If we're not doing our job down here, if we're not going to Burns, Oregon, or the other 3 places they go to during the year as a state central committee, or if we're not going to our county meetings, if I'm not going to my once a month meeting, and I tell you guys every time, I don't want to go, and then I go, and it turns out to be cool, and I learn something new about democracy, and I go, what do you know? Look at all this power. Every time, look at all this power we have. Look at this power we have over here. Look at all it takes to just make this change over here. All we had to do was fill this out and check that box and sign my name. It's amazing what happens when you figure out that democracy is just a bunch of boring bureaucracy and conversations to make things the way you want it to be. It's not as exciting as football. It's not as exciting as the Olympics. But man, would it make life better for all of us. You know, it really would. So I thank Larry Taylor. I thank Charles Maughan for doing it. Laura Livengood, thank you so much for helping me all the time.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here. And we got another one. Are you going to be around for the other one?
Of course, it's a Bernie rally. I would never miss it.
Awesome. Where are you? There you are. I get you on the screen.
There we are.
The next, and thank you guys, everybody who stayed. Jilly Love and Melissa and Tanisha and Jeanette and Darcy and Dewey. Who else is in here? We've got. I'm scrolling up. Well, whoever else was big. Thank you all for being here. We will see you. We're doing is grabbing a MoveOn.org Facebook stream. Okay. So it's moveon.org on Facebook. They're the ones who are pushing this out as a live stream. I'm just going to grab that and push it out to YouTube's for them. And we'll run that together. We'll have a good time. It officially starts at 1 p.m. on Move On. I'll probably start 12:45-ish. We'll look at some news of the day, have a good time. And you know how it goes, right? Laura will be here.
I'll drop the link so people can just, if you guys want to keep chatting, just come over to the other show and we can chat there. That's Chats Live.
Awesome. Thank you. That'd be great. Yeah. And Jeanette, I'm glad you're excited. Good. Me too.
Yeah.
Things are happening. Things are still horrific, but be excited that we're moving. We're changing stuff. And I didn't even have like an end. We're just going out on this one. Again, this wasn't planned to be a separate thing, so I just threw it together real fast, and then I misspelled Charles' names on every single thing that I had. It's like, I'm in a hurry. And Charles, without a G, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You were just being phonetic. It's okay.
I was. Yeah. All right. See you guys soon.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.